there's one young man that I specifically worked with, and he was one of those challenging young people who couldn't remain in a class any longer than an hour, you know, any longer than half an hour at certain points. So there was a specific time frame, a number of weeks, where he would come into school and he would come into what became the music room. It was once a library, but then became the music room. I had the Mac in there, the music production software, some equipment that I brought from home, and this young man who was interested in learning the bass guitar at the time, you know. And in that space, there was an opportunity for him to really start expressing who he wanted to become, what he was interested in doing, certain things that he had been through, and what he didn't want to repeat. And what became really, really apparent and really clear was that he had a really strong why, or a really strong motivation for what he wanted to do next and how that was going to get him to his next step. That wasn't the purpose of you know, my intervention of the work that I was doing with him. But in just that one-to-one time and that building relationship and him finding this real love for music as a resource, as a strategy for him to be able to express things that he didn't feel comfortable expressing before, there was a new light in his eyes, you know, and a real gratitude for life and, you know, his opportunity to be able to experience something new in what was a school setting, which is, for me, was different because, you know, working in that space, I was a mentor, I was working as a teaching assistant at the time, and I'm sitting in classrooms supporting students, getting on with the curriculum, whether it's the maths work, the English work, science, etc., languages, all these different types of things. And this is a young man who actually, because of the situation and circumstance he was in with his behaviour, had an entire day where we were just able to make music. And actually the things he was able to learn about himself in that time, because he was able to express himself and get real clarity on his thoughts, his way of thinking. It was almost like every time we got into the studio, the music room, he was journaling. Like, it was an opportunity for him to journal, and we're like, what do you want to write about today? You know, and I'd put together a small beat that he could then write to, or he'd write something before coming in, and then we'd turn it into an entire track. And over that entire period of time, there was so much that now I reflect on that was valuable in terms of the quote-unquote soft skills. We've spoken about these before. I don't like to use the term soft skills. Real-world skills that were forming in him.